All right, let's jump right into a question that's on pretty much everyone's mind. Electric cars versus gas cars. Which one is actually better for the planet? You hear so much noise from both sides, so today we're going to cut through all of that and get to the real story.
So let's just ask it, plain and simple, are electric vehicles really the greener choice? It sounds like it should have a straightforward answer, right? But if you follow this at all, you know it's a huge debate, and honestly, it's super easy to get lost in all the conflicting headlines.
And this is exactly why it's so confusing. On one hand, you hear about EVs, and the big knock against them is the environmental damage from mining all those minerals for the batteries. Then, on the other hand, you've got your standard gas car, and, well, the problem there is obvious, all that dirty exhaust coming out of the tailpipe. It really feels like you're just trading one big problem for another. But is that actually true?
Okay, so to get to the real answer here, we have to totally change how we look at the problem. We can't just take a single snapshot in time. We need to look at the entire story of a car's life. I mean, from the moment its parts are made to the day it's junked.
And there's a name for this. It's called a lifecycle analysis. Think of it as the tool that lets scientists see the full picture. It lets them track the total environmental cost of a product across its entire existence. This is how we get past the shouting matches and into the real data.
And doing this reveals a really fundamental difference between the two. An EV's environmental impact is what you'd call front-loaded. The biggest environmental hit happens right at the beginning, when it's being built, especially making that big energy-intensive battery. A gas car is the complete opposite. Its impact is backloaded. The real damage happens over time, day after day, every time you fill it up and drive.
So, now that we have this framework, we can finally look at the numbers and see when the scales actually tip in one direction. How do these two totally different timelines play out in the real world?
So here's the deal. An electric vehicle rolls off the assembly line with what you can pretty much call a carbon debt. Because of all that energy used to make the battery, it actually starts its life with a bigger carbon footprint than a brand new gas car sitting right next to it. But this is where the whole story flips. While that gas car starts polluting from the second you drive it, the EV is running clean. And it pays back that initial carbon debt way faster than you might think. We're talking about studies that show an EV hits its break-even point in just 1 to 3 years of average driving. After that, it's all a net positive for the planet every single mile.
Now at the same time, let's look at what the gas car is doing. Burning just a single gallon of gasoline creates almost 9,000 grams of CO2. And a car does that over and over and over again, thousands of times in its life. It's just this relentless, non-stop stream of pollution that never ends until the car dies.
So when you zoom out and you look at the total impact over a decade, the picture becomes incredibly clear. That one-time carbon debt from making the EVs, it's completely dwarfed by the massive towering mountain of pollution from the gas cars. I mean, it's not even a close competition.
And look, the data tells a really clear story for right now. But what's even more exciting is that this advantage for EVs is only going to grow. The green gap that we see today, it's just the beginning.
And here's why. There are 3 huge trends all pushing in the same direction. First, battery technology is getting better and more efficient, which means that initial carbon debt is going to shrink. Second, we're getting way better at recycling those batteries, so we'll have to mine less in the future. And third, and this is a big one, our electricity grids are getting cleaner every year with more wind and solar. That means the power we use to charge our cars is getting greener too.
So in the end, that life cycle analysis brings us to this one really unavoidable conclusion. The constant compounding pollution from a gas car over its life is just a much bigger environmental problem than the one-time impact of making a battery.
So the question really isn't if EVs are the better choice. The data is pretty solid on that. The real, more interesting question now is, as our entire world gets greener, with cleaner energy and smarter tech, just how much wider can that green gap actually become? Now that's the story we'll be watching. Thanks for tuning in.